Bigfoot sightings in Texas have been reported in various regions. Some have had more reported sightings than others. East Texas piney woods. The dense forests and swamps of East Texas, particularly in the Piney Woods region, have been associated with several Bigfoot sightings over the years. This area's remote and heavily wooded terrain makes it a popular location for alleged encounters. Boggy Creek. The area around Boggy Creek, which stretches into Arkansas and northeastern Texas, has been the site of numerous reported Bigfoot sightings. The creature is often referred to as the Boggy Creek Monster. This is an area pretty close to where I grew up. Located north of Houston in Sam Houston National Forest, this national forest has seen its fair share of Bigfoot reports. The dense woods and numerous waterways make it a conducive environment for such legends. Big Thicket National Preserve is another one. This vast wilderness area in southeastern Texas is known for its biodiversity, has also been the site of alleged Bigfoot encounters. The Davis Mountains. In West Texas, the Davis Mountains have been the backdrop for some Bigfoot sightings. While West Texas is generally arid and desert-like, these mountains offer more forested terrain. Here, of course, is some of the appearance-based type of affairs when it comes to the Bigfoots here in Texas. Height. Excuse me. Bigfoot is commonly described as a tall and robust creature, ranging in height from 7 to 10 feet or more, depending on the account. That makes sense in itself. The hair, of course. Bigfoot is typically reported as being covered in dark, shaggy hair, which can range from dark brown to black, sometimes even red. I'll go ahead and throw that in there. Witnesses, of course, describe its hair as long and unkempt. Fair enough. The face. There's a real big factor here. The creature's face is often obscured by hair, but witnesses sometimes report seeing a flat, human-like face with a prominent brow ridge and a pronounced ape-like nose. However, some sightings, of course, are almost completely human in the face. Eyes. Excuse me. Bigfoot's eyes are described as dark or black, and they are said to have a penetrating or intimidating gaze. That speaks for itself. Another thing, one of the most common forms of evidence associated with Bigfoot sightings here in Texas and pretty much everywhere else is large, human-like footprints, which can measure 10 to 15 inches or more in length. These footprints are cited, of course, as proof of this creature's existence. How y'all doing? This is your boy. All right. This one is kind of an exception or an extension, I should say, of a subject I've covered before, but I haven't gone into depth about it. And of course, we'll talk about Boggy Creek and all that, but this covers more of a diverse location, and definitely the same creature that I've mentioned several times, but things you really wouldn't think too much about. Is Bigfoot a big thing in Texas? You have no idea. Yes, because of the size of this state, not the size, but the size of this great state, and also the varying types of landscapes and different terrain that covers. You have deserts, you have plains, you have mountains, you have woods, even swamps. Now, there's even areas that are likely to be covered in snow during the winter. I mean, I'm just saying, Texas has a diverse landscape like you wouldn't believe. And so naturally, especially with all the forests you have around here, man, let me tell you, a lot of forest. And of course, like I said, mountains, waterways, all kinds of stuff, you're going to have Bigfoot. I promise you that. Where you have something along those lines, you're going to have Sasquatch. Period. No ifs, ands, or buts. Now, you're probably wondering, as you saw in the little list I was reading, Sam Houston, near Houston. What the hell would a Bigfoot be doing near there? We have to understand something. Houston's huge. People don't understand that. It's like maybe the 5th or the 4th most populated city in this country, and there's a reason for that. Of course, energy, it's also, if I remember right, the energy capital of the world. It has to do with the resources. You have to understand that. And it's not packed up tight like, let's say, New York City or LA or any place like that. No, or Chicago. It ain't like people are packed up sardines. Not the way you'd think. Make no mistake, they are, but not to the extreme in which some of these other cities are. Houston is spread out. Okay, you have to understand that. Houston, Texas is spread. Harris County is all over the place. And there's a reason I'm going there with this, why I'm stressing that so much. There's a lot of forests and a lot of woods and a lot of areas that these creatures can hide. And also, again, waterways, rivers, lakes, things like that, which, of course, water is life for any kind of wildlife. So you have to really take that into consideration. These creatures are going to follow the waterways. And because of the fact there are so many woods and areas that they can hide, it's only natural that they wouldn't be too far from a city. Maybe even in some cases within a city like that. I'm just saying, that's how adaptable these creatures, I firmly believe, are. And that's just to tell you how crazy the sightings can be. Now, of course, you have East Texas, which speaks for itself. A lot of these versions of Sasquatch or Bigfoot seem to love the swamps. East Texas is nothing but woods, and of course, the further south you go near Louisiana, Mississippi, etc., you have nothing but swamp. And it's natural that these creatures would like such things. And naturally, as I've said before, it seems the smaller, and still very big, but almost more ape-like creatures, like let's say the Boggy Creek monster, there's been some descriptions of it being like that. They seem to like those hot, humid, just areas. I mean, believe me, something like that with a lot of hair is going to stink. That's the name, sometimes skunk ape and all that. So anyway, I believe very firmly, of course, that those creatures of that type of description dwell in those areas, and it speaks for itself. Of course, the further west you go, and of course, kind of north, you have mountains. A lot of mountains here. So, of course, also south, even near the border, you have all that stuff. I'm just saying, though, further west more than anything you go, it's very interesting. You have a lot of hot, arid areas. And that seems to be, from what I've seen, it seems to almost be the classic type of Bigfoot that's described there. The big, massive, like really massive creatures. But I'm just saying, it's very interesting where these creatures can dwell, man. Their ability to adapt is nothing short of amazing. And that right there is another thing that makes me believe these creatures could exist very easily, because that shows their intelligence. That shows their ability to adapt into almost any environment. You have creatures that, hell, they can live in the desert. They can live in the freaking frozen wastelands. Those kind of areas. I'm talking about like the North and the South. I'm not sure about the South, but I do know about the North Pole, probably the South. And of course, the Siberian areas. Of course, it is outside of Texas, but still. It's something to really make you think just how intelligent, adaptable these creatures are. And of course, naturally, I'm just saying, of course, and yes, believe me, I've heard and seen, not personally seen, but I've heard personally, stories about these creatures here in Texas. Of course, livestock. That's a real big thing here. Ranchers ain't too thrilled to deal with these creatures because guess what? They're opportunistic predators. And believe me, you're talking about you're talking about a creature, an entity strong enough to easily, doesn't matter if it's a bull, cow, calf, they're strong enough to easily grab that thing, probably kill it, and haul it off to feed their family, if you know what I'm talking about. That right there shows just how fascinating and how widespread these creatures can be. That's just one state. Of course, the state's bigger than most, but there you go. I just figured I'd put that out there. You guys know what I do. I produce for Dark Waters. My email is wesvic@iamdarkwaters.com. You guys be blessed and you be safe.